Oh God.
I don't know what my only crime was being happy. That's all I did. I hate you.
Holy shit, Danny.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Asante, back here once again to review tonight's AEW Dynamite. We started off this evening in New Orleans, shout out to Saints, with Jon Moxley versus Jeff Hardy. Obviously, in the last few weeks, we've seen Jeff Hardy slowly lean towards a little bit more of a heel persona, and that only continued tonight. We head to the end of the match here, where after Jeff was able to hit back-to-back twists of fates, side note, no Matt Hardy at ringside, just point that out. Jeff went up top and went up for the Swanton. However, no water in the pool as Jon Moxley was able to roll out of the way. Moxley then quickly recovered, got Jeff in a rear naked choke, and was able to choke him out, putting him to sleep for the win. A lot of stuff went on in and around this match. We had Moxley steal a pen from Excalibur, put it through Jeff's ear gauge, and twist it around a la, I think that was Randy Orton with the screwdriver. Well, not nearly as nasty as a screwdriver, but still pretty nasty. But of important note, we had a series of CMLL wrestlers at ringside. I was able to get three of their names, Hechicero, Mystico, and Mascar Dorado. There was a fourth one, something junior. I couldn't quite get it. They were all shown at ringside before the match. Hechicero has a match with Bryan Danielson on Saturday on Collision. And during the match, Moxley was actually thrown into the group of them and got into it with them a little bit. After the match, Moxley went over to shake Jeff Hardy's hand. Jeff seemed like he was going to, then gave him one of these and then threw up the Jeff Hardy guns and ended up walking out doing the same appearingly to the crowd. Moxley then got up on the top rope, started jaw-jacking with the CMLL guys again. They got into the ring. Moxley obviously starts the fight, throwing hands with, I believe, Mystico, and that prompted a 4-on-1 beatdown until security and eventually parts of the locker room came out into the ring to drive off.
Can I talk about that before anything else?
Please.
Nothing says intimidating like Cool Hand Ange and Daddy Magic coming out with weapons, right? If I'm an invading roster and I'm afraid of who might come down, I could tell you there's maybe 20 wrestlers I would think of before Cool Hand Ange and Daddy Magic. And Matt Sydal.
And Christopher Daniels.
Right, Daniels I'll give. The Fallen Angel, I don't know what Black Magic Voodoo he'll do on me, but Matt Sydal, Daddy Magic, and Cool Hand Ange, if that's the locker room protection, I think AEW's in trouble.
At least Ange was rocking a fucking chain, like in a heavy one at that. So you have that. That actually sets up a 8-man tag on, I believe, Rampage before the match with Bryan and Hechicero on Saturday. So that's all the CML stuff. I guess we'll come back to that in a bit. But James, I don't want to say surprisingly because I feel like that's a little bit mean, but this is now our third Jeff Hardy match in a row where he not only lost, but he looked very good. You know, in ring, he looks like he's moving well. And as I said at the top, we are continuing with these losses towards full-blown heel Jeff Hardy. Not sure about Matt, but definitely Jeff Hardy.
Both Matt and Jeff are definitely veering heel. It's just we're seeing it a little bit more with Jeff because Jeff has been having the singles matches. I said it last week when we were speaking about the subject. I don't want to speak negatively of Matt, but it's very clear Jeff is thriving in a way that he wasn't now that he's by himself or now that he's wrestling singles matches. I don't want to put all the blame on Matt. There were definitely instances where Jeff didn't look like he was in the right place or at the right time, but he has hit a new gear in these singles matches. And as much as it pains me as a Jeff Hardy fan, he's losing to the right people. Jeff already has And for the right reasons. Yes, and for the right reasons. Jeff Hardy already had a major win over Darby Allin. And truth be told, even though it's the right move that Darby has this win over Jeff, the win Jeff has over Darby is bigger. That's another match that they should run down again eventually so Darby can win this series on a bigger stage than Rampage. Jeff losing to Swerve Strickland last week. Swerve is the biggest star in the company right now, in my opinion. I think he's the guy with the biggest it factor. Losing to Swerve is not a huge loss for Jeff Hardy. Now losing to Moxley in the first, we're going to talk about this a little bit because AEW is bringing it up all night. This is the first week where the rankings matter. I have a cat that's about to jump on the table.
I bet you she's messing. I was going to say your sound was a little loud. I bet you she's messing with it.
She's going to try. She is definitely going to try. Don't you do it.
While you're distracted, I will say the rankings should be coming out while we are live. So we are going to do our best to keep an eye on that. Producer boy is unfortunately not here at the moment, but if anybody in the chat sees it come up, let us. And we haven't talked about it yet. Let us know, and we will definitely go through it. But yeah, the people people Jeff Hardy are losing to are indeed people I imagine we're going to see in these rankings, which were probably at number one.
Exactly. And I mean, very good argument for number one, although whoever might be number two might have a good argument for number one as well. Danny Hernandez speaking nonsense as if he watches the product in the comments saying 3 weeks is too many. Jeff has been killing it. You might not like him, and hey, be happy he's losing. But he's doing great right now in a show that, quite frankly, and this is something I'm going to talk about throughout the night, feels like it's lacking in terms of stars. Jeff Hardy is undoubtedly getting some of the bigger reactions of the night every week he's coming out now. He had last week, Dynamite's crowd was kind of dead until the Jeff Swerve match. That crowd woke up, and it wasn't just for Swerve. It was also for Jeff. And this week, too, he got a good reaction. So I don't acknowledge him. Don't even laugh at him. Don't look at it.
It's a little funny.
Daniel Hernandez, whoever he may be, saying change his name to Jeff Hardley in the comments. No.
Yes, but Jeff with the G-E-O. Yeah. Like, didn't Jeffrey the Giraffe spell his name like that?
Yeah, he did. Jeffrey. Yeah. Don't fall for it.
Hi, Danny.
Damn it, Rev. But no, Jeff Hardy losing hurts the Jeff Hardy fan in me. The AEW fan in me is happy he's there and happy he's putting over these big stars. These stars that definitely need some glow right now because something, as much as I've been enjoying the product on a weekly basis, I can't deny how consistent the show has been. Something feels like it's missing with AEW right now. So it feels like they're missing a central star of the show.
I think that's because the central star of the show left after World's End. MJF was that central star, and it almost felt like Adam Cole probably should have picked up that ball, but he's very clearly hurt. Your champion, a lot of people think he's just a transitional champion, and as much as we all love Samoa Joe, he hasn't been that central star yet. And you could do it, but granted, everyone assumes it's going to be short term. You have Hangman and Swerve, and they're near the top of the card right now, and they are probably the two most central guys to the show. Most of this episode revolved around them.
Yep.
But no one has come in and filled that MJF role. So we are still in that post-MJF world where we hit the reset button. We're trying to figure out who fills that vacuum, and that is not an easy vacuum to fill. So I think by Revolution and then probably after, we'll have our answers as to who that person will be and where we're going. But they are still in a little bit of a limbo at the moment, and it does kind of create that vacuum in the show that you're talking about, feel like.
No, I agree with you, and it's at a bad time right now because wrestling has probably the highest interest it's had in a while. It's that time of year. It's the road to WrestleMania season, and just because that's a WWE thing, it doesn't matter. WWE and wrestling in general right now tends to be elevated at this time. So it would be nice if AEW could figure out a way to light a little bit of a fire. I know we're getting close to Revolution. I know we're getting close to Sting's last match, and I know we're kind of in like a limbo period, like you said, between these pay-per-views. But man, give me a Kenny Omega. I get it. I know, obviously.
There's another guy they're missing. You know, there's such a vacuum of talent that aren't there. Even Dr. Britt Baker. You know, DMD. We're not having her around, and despite a lot of other women have stepped up to take her place, she's still a huge star. They are missing in that locker room and on TV.
So yeah, I want something. Move Brian back over to Wednesday. Move House of Black to Wednesday. Something needs to happen because there needs to be a little bit of a shakeup. And again, none of that is a knock on the talent that is killing it. Swerve, Hangman, Mox, now Jeff. All these talent are definitely delivering. It's just, I don't know. It feels like, and Joe, Samoa Joe too. But even though Joe is the champion and the central storyline of the show was who's going to challenge Joe, these two matches amongst his contenders, it feels like that straight line to follow through the show wasn't quite as powerful lately. So, but we'll see. I'm very happy Jeff was on the show. I'm very happy Moxley got a good win. Jeff as a heel, he's good as a heel. I know nobody recognizes it because how it ended with Victory Road and Sting. But if you ask most people who were watching the product at that time, Jeff was killing it as a heel up until he almost killed himself. So I'd be excited to see a genuine Jeff Hardy heel turn and see what he could come up with that.
Yeah, I think that would be fun, refreshing. I feel like Jeff has pretty much been doing the same thing outside of the Broken Hardy stuff for a long time. So Give us something different there. And to go back to what we were saying with the vacuum, you brought up Collision, and I actually think that brings up another good point where as deep as we all acknowledge this roster is, they do have to put a lot of talent on that other show. So when you lose huge stars on one of them, if you're stretched a little more thinly than you were before. And I think that's also kind of creating this space at the top of Dynamite. As I don't watch Collision, even though I consistently say I will. Again, I'm lying to you. But
are you lying to us or to yourself?
Yes. But but I imagine, because MJF wasn't there every week, the top of that card is probably similar to what it's been. I know they took Jay White off, but you still got Brian over there. You still got the House of Black. You still got FTR. So I imagine it's very similar to what it's been, and it's probably been consistent even after World's End. This, as we've been saying, they're still trying to figure it out. And with the deep roster, I think it gives a lot of wrestlers an opportunity to try to step up and fill that role. And not just these people we've been saying like Mox and Swerve and Hangman, but younger wrestlers who they can give time to because they have the opportunity. Yep. And hopefully, they can step in and add more depth to this roster.
Exactly. That young talent like Jeff Hardy, that young talent like Matt Sydal. But moving on to actually the interesting part, moving past the match, that beatdown.
Read my mind.
We got, I will be the first to admit, Lucha is not where my heart is. I love it when I do watch it, but I don't focus on it. I'm more likely to watch Japanese wrestling. I'm more likely, obviously, to watch North American wrestling. But I've always really wanted to get into the Lucha stuff. And my exposure tends to be more through AAA, not necessarily CMLL, which is kind of fascinating that we have this going on right now because of the politics down in Mexico when it comes to the Mexican promotions. There is no love between these promotions. And AEW's partnership with AAA has at times been detrimental to their relationship with New Japan because of their relationship with CMLL. So lots of moving parts there. And now that CMLL is apparently on board, I wonder what other types of crossovers we might expect.
Yeah, I do find it a little funny that Andrade leaves and we get CMLL guys in, but
Right? That felt like a dig, and I like it.
But you're right, just the politics of it all almost having more intrigue than the actual wrestling. When I get the wrestling, I will enjoy it. But yes, because of New Japan's relationship with CMLL and Dragoon, it is shocking you never heard of them. And because of AEW's relationship with AAA in the past,
AAA.
it's gonna be weird. Yo hablo español. It's gonna be interesting to see how both of these relationships progress in the future. Are we still going to get AAA wrestlers in AEW rings? Guys like Hijo del Vikingo and stuff like that, who, well, last we saw him was a AAA Mega Championship. And I'm pretty sure we just saw him on Friday on Rampage. I think he was in that Orange Cassidy 4-way match. So it's very interesting to see who continues to come in and out of AEW. If CMLL guys on one show, can the AAA guys not be there, and vice versa? And I don't know what Tony's big announcement is next week, but everyone's yelling invasion in all of the comment sections on the internet right now. Are we getting that, or are we getting some sort of other Forbidden Door type show where it's CMLL against AEW? I think there's a lot of possibilities there, and we're going to have to wait and see, but I'm excited to see some new luchadors in the mix, including
Absolutely.
If you want to go on a rabbit hole, go look up Mystico, and then how many people have been Mystico slash Sin Cara slash Dralistico slash all of those brothers. It is confusing as all hell. All right, but let's move on to our next match, which saw one of the people we just talked a lot about, Hangman Adam Page, face off against Toa Liona. This was the first of two dealers' choice matches throughout the night. Swerve got to pick Hangman's opponent, and he picked Toa, which was actually a pretty solid choice. I believe they said he was had not been pinned or submitted in AEW since arriving there. This match ended after Hangman was able to hit a Deadeye, but Toa, because he has a Samoan hard head, was able to pick up. And he hit what I believe was called More Mana. It was something Mana, but it was a Ripcord Discus Elbow. It looked really cool. And Adam Page is able to kick out of that. Liona then followed Page to the apron and hit a senton that sent Hangman to the floor. And then Liona actually went for a moonsault off of the apron, which looked really cool. But Hangman was able to roll out of the way, scramble to the top rope, and hit a more Orihara moonsault of his own. Hangman then sends Liona back into the ring, goes for the buckshot. It is ducked, and Liona then goes for the Samoan drop. However, upon doing that, Hangman is able to shift the weight and the momentum and use that to get a crucifix pin in for the win. After the match, Liona bent the fucking chair in half and then thought about going for Hangman, but Hangman was able to duck him, and Liona decided that discretion was a better part of valor and went to the back. So, James, I think this technically qualified as a big meaty men slapping meat match. If not, it was right on the border.
Yeah, we're getting there. We are getting there. And, you know, meat comes in all different shapes and sizes. It's more a state of mind than anything. And they brought it. They brought the meat slapping.
This was a little more filet mignon than ribeye.
Not a lot of fat on this bone. But I enjoyed this. I'm really enjoying Hangman lately. Hangman is a wrestler who I go through phases with where I always like him and I always care about him and I'm always rooting for him. But depending on what he's doing will depend on how invested I am in him at the moment. And the way he's been portraying himself, the importance in which he's doing things, it's hard not to be on this train. It's hard not to be excited for Hangman right now, even if he somehow doesn't get to Joe in the title. This is the most fired up he's been in a long time. So I'm all for it, and I think this match reflected that. You know, I love the back and forth. I actually really like the pieces of Gates of Agony more than I care about the team at all.
Yeah, right.
And I think Toa is a really cool talent. He fits that like mid-card monster type that I think every division needs. So yeah, happy to see this matchup. It fits the story. Of course, Swerve would pick somebody from his team to go against Hangman. So good story, good matchup. I personally loved immediately getting up out of the Deadeye. I know there are people who probably won't. I know there are people who are going to get mad at it the same way they got mad at Hook kicking out of the Muscle Buster at 1. But it's wrestling canon that Samoans have reinforced heads. It's wrestling canon. If you don't like it, blame Paul Heyman. But he made it.
Did he create that?
I mean, he's the first one that I really remember talking about it on TV. And if he didn't make it a thing on TV, he revitalized it on TV. So blame Paul Heyman for the spot tonight if you didn't like it. So somehow this is WWE's fault. But regardless, great matchup.
Before that, but
I'm sure, but I couldn't tell you when.
Somebody ask Uncle Dave when it started. He'll probably know. But yeah, I enjoy this. Is Hook Samoan? Not that I'm aware of.
No, he's from Tasmania. It's like you don't pay attention to the family lineage, man.
Yeah, that's why Tony Storm calls him that.
He doesn't get it.
Yeah, and of course he doesn't. But no, look, I did enjoy this match a lot too. It was an interesting matchup. Like I said, it was just two strong dudes getting in there, tossing each other around, laying in, not death defying, but really hard shots at each other. And I really can't complain. It made Heyman look really good. And I have to agree with you on where he is right now. He has such a drive and passion that when he is not involved in a great storyline, he tends to lack a little bit more. And that makes sense. When he was facing Mox, it was there. And when he was back with the Elite, it was kind of there, even though I felt because he was with a group, you kind of have to subdue it and it doesn't come off as strongly. But now he is beyond pissed, and with good reason. Swerve broke into his house and went after his infant son. So he has this anger, this drive, this passion, and he has
drive.
He has a perfect outlet for it in Swerve. Because I know he wants to go for the title, but I feel like he wants to do it more to prevent Swerve from getting it than getting it himself.
Yeah.
He couldn't care less if he got the title, but if he prevents Swerve from getting the title, that's all that matters to him. So Eric Infant Son had it coming. Yes, huge proponent of Infant Side, Eric Grisanti, ladies and gentlemen. So I loved, it's like a hatred out of Hangman. It's not even a passion. And I think there is a chance it ends up costing both of them in the end, but it's been a great story. So
I hope not. I hope not, because I think they need Swerve as champion. It's nothing against Joe, but I think a heel Swerve champion run is the adrenaline AEW needs right now.
At minimum, I think it's going to cost Hangman. Perhaps both of them, but definitely Hangman.
Yeah.
We'll get to more on that later. We then went backstage as we watched Nicholas and Matthew Jackson arrive at Dynamite. Showed up in a gorgeous stretch limo. I think it was a Lincoln. And as a worker came over to hand them the rundown for the night, he accidentally called them Nick and Matt. Obviously, Nick got really pissed to find the kid $500. And while Matt apologized, he did make sure that the employee did pay the $500 before the end of the night. We then moved on to Wardlow versus Commander.
Did you catch their middle names? Did you catch what it was?
No, it was so fast.
Was Matt's Bron John? Was that?
Yes. Yeah, it was Bron John or Ron John. It was something ridiculous.
God.
Definitely.
I love it.
I think Nicholas's might have been Lee. It was something Nicholas like normal.
Lee. Yep.
And then, Matthew Ron John or Ron
I
Bon.
hate them, and it's amazing, and they're perfect at what they're doing.
The Bucks of Youth.
You have no idea. All right, let's just talk about something real quick. It really sucks that CM Punk is hurt on the WWE side of things. It really, really sucks. I hope for a speedy recovery for Punk, especially at this terrible time of year to get hurt. But man, Can you imagine what if the Bucks had leaned into that at all tonight? Oh my God, the Heat would have been the Heat would have been amazing, bro. The Heat, bro.
Yeah, but never go full Russo. I can see why they wouldn't want to do that. You don't kick a man while he's down like that. And not to mention, that's really fucking petty. So Eric believes something is at work. I'm not sure if he meant the name or Punk being hurt, but we'll see. And Dragoon's just telling him to shut up. Yeah, good luck with that, Dragoon. Seriously.
Me? I don't want to shut up. Don't. I'm quiet at times.
I thought he meant Eric.
No, he was telling me to shut up.
Oh, I thought he was telling Eric to shut up. That's why I was telling him good luck, because we've been doing this podcast over 2 years now, and we still can't get Eric to shut up. And he's not even on the fucking screen.
No, Dragoon, do you not want your heels to get heel heat? Do you not want to boo the bad guys? I thought this is what you would want.
Nah, it's way too petty. I don't think they would do that. For the most part, out of like a couple of things, they've really not made reference to Punk at all.
I know, but I feel like these characters, it fits them a little bit more. But anyway.
Dragoon says he'd boo the Young Bucks anyway, so good for you, buddy. All right, yeah, let's move on. Next up, like I was saying, we had Wardlow versus Commander. This match came about after, I believe, on Saturday, Commander wouldn't take the help of Roderick Strong and the Undisputed Kingdom to help him beat Orange Cassidy for the International Championship. Obviously, this match kind of played out exactly like you thought it would. Wardlow dominates for a while. He gets too cocky. Eventually, Commander is able to, catch him slipping a little bit, gets in some offense, sends Wardlow into the steps, injuring his knee. Commander then used the ropes to hit a low blow, and that set him up for a Phoenix Splash that Wardlow was able to kick out of. Wardlow then immediately took control again. He ended the match by hitting the drop knee in the corner on Commander, and then he attempted to hit a powerbomb, but, and this is what I'm praying, he was selling the knee because he hit the drop knee on the knee that went into the stairs earlier, and when he lifted up Commander for the powerbomb, he kind of stumbled back, and he almost more dropped Commander than hit an actual powerbomb. Either way, by that point, Commander was absolutely shot, and Wardlow was able to pick up the win. After the match, Roderick Strong grabbed a mic, and he had Commander throw him back in, saying he was going to teach him a lesson for denying their offer on Saturday. But we got the rescue from Orange Cassidy, Rocky Romero, and the Best Friends. The two groups came face-to-face, but once again, the Undisputed Kingdom backed down and left. I'm sure James is going to be very upset about that, but I want to start with the fact that, did Wardlow injure his knee?
Oh, I can't, man. I brought it up in the chat when I thought that he got hurt, or I addressed either he couldn't do the powerbomb, he didn't have a good grip on him, and commentary really protected him by making it seem like he's injured, but he was still able to do it through the injury, or my God, he is actually injured. And if that's the case, man, this guy has to have some of the worst luck I've ever seen in professional wrestling.
Yeah, it would be brutal timing.
Brutal timing. AEW rankings were released.
Eric, I'm pulling them now.
Yeah. So I would rather see this was a botch that he was able to recover from than an injury. Please, God, don't let Wardlow get injured, because at that point, I don't know what you do with this group, because it feels like this group is actually designed to get Wardlow over. He has been the most prominent part of it. So if I do not care that Andrew Tate has responded to the Vince McMahon allegations, but beyond that,
why would we even say his name on this podcast?
Right. I feel like we're going to get Enzo Amore in the algorithm now, but it feels like this group is really secretly designed to help Wardlow get over, because last week he had a banger of a match, and I said I thought it was legitimately Wardlow's best match in years, if not ever. And this week wasn't as good as last week, but it continued the trend of actually making Wardlow look good. He looked like a monster, tossing and spinning and just dominating Commander. He had that one bit where he pulled Commander by the leg and he flipped him in the air. He hit that F5, and that was an F10. He double spun him. It was insane.
Propeller Jones over there.
I am all for this Wardlow push. I am all for Wardlow becoming the true star of this in the end. But man, if he's hurt, I don't know A, how you replace him, and B, what you do with him when he comes back. So best of luck. I'm really hoping he's okay for multiple reasons, but oof, please be okay. Please be okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's fine. I thought he was just selling, especially because he did that very violent drop knee in the corner onto the quote unquote injured knee. I think he just tripped, to be honest with you. I'll really hoping. Well, I'll have to watch it back. I'm really hoping that's the case. I do agree with you about this match. Maybe not as good as last week with Trent, but another really good. Yeah, MJF's going to be in the Royal Rumble Dragoon. Okay, buddy. Yeah, it was a really good match, and it's continuing to. I'm liking the thing where Wardlow is dominating so much. What's going on, Navarro? That Wardlow is dominating so much that he starts getting cocky, and it starts to cost him. Mercedes did not debut. However, Tony Khan has a big announcement next week. We'll see what it is. But Wardlow, his cockiness starts costing him. We saw it last week with Trent, and I do believe part of that was the Undisputed Kingdom getting involved, as well as him not taking Trent seriously. And eventually Trent was able to battle back into it. And Wardlow almost lost. A lot closer in that match than this match was. Tonight, you saw the same thing. He's starting to toy with Commander. Commander catches him, sends him into the steps, and that completely changed the dynamic of the match. Ever be it so briefly, Commander hit a Phoenix Splash and got a 2 count.
Yeah.
So at some point, you're going to see Wardlow continuing to be cocky, and possibly lose. Even if he gets saved at the last second by, say, somebody in the Undisputed Kingdom pulling the ref out or something, he's going to get to a point where he should have lost the match because of his cockiness. I think they'll protect him for a while, maybe all the way up to the point where he gets really close to the AEW World Championship. But you're going to start seeing things like that. I did want to bring up one more thing with you, James, because I know you hate it. This is now, I believe, the second week in a row we've had the Best Friends and Co. stare down the Undisputed Kingdom, and the Undisputed Kingdom has indeed backed off. We saw them as a very violent group when they were in masks, and now, well, I understand why they're picking their spots. They haven't picked any spots yet.
Yeah. I'm a little bummed. I do want to acknowledge Eric's comments in the tweet. Wardlow responded on Twitter, and supposedly he's good. So thank God. I will take a botch. It's fine. It's fine. So we'll forget about it by next week. But thank God he's not hurt. Yeah, man. I don't know how I'm supposed to care about this group right now. I know they're the bad guys. I know they're the chicken shit heels. That's fine. But do something. I'll take a cowardly heel beatdown.
Backstage beatdown would be great.
Right? Go back to being the group that you were when we didn't know who you were. So I little weak. I have a real feeling Trent and Rocky are going to take those ROH tag titles off of, or at the very least get a title match.
We can't give Chucky T anything, or is he still hurt?
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
How you doing, pal? Welcome. Yeah, I mean, Chucky is still, I think, hurt. I don't think he could actually wrestle right now, which is just nice that he shows up. But I think we're going to get a Roppongi Vice tag title match for the ROH tag titles, probably at Revolution on the pre-show. But
makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. They feel
flat.
So flat. And I know so much of it has to do with Cole being hurt. But my question is, if Cole wasn't hurt, was he going to be in the title picture?
I would think so.
What would he be doing otherwise, right? He would have to be in the title picture.
Perhaps Samoa Joe was a pivot after Cole got hurt. maybe it would have been MJF facing off against the Devil.
Well, supposedly, according to some news, producer boy had brought up, they had planned on Joe winning the title basically since like right after All In.
Right. You were saying perhaps as a reward for how Joe handled everything.
Yes, and I think that's kind of what we've been seeing and what we've been hearing. And to go to Eric's comment, he did say from the beginning it'd be lame if it's them because it'll be comedy stuff. It's not even comedy stuff. They're not even. It's just nothing. They're not. It's Wardlow wrestling. I would be fine with comedy stuff, Eric. I would be fine if they did anything. And that's actually
Hey, Kevin.
But Dragoon hit the nail on the head here. Wish you were here, buddy. They made a story centric around injured people. It's a tough position to be in. MJF's not around. He can't be mad and be systematically taking out the Undisputed Kingdom. Adam Cole can't capitalize on what he did because he's still injured. And everybody else is a mid-carder. Literally everybody else is a mid-carder. And I'm not saying that as an insult, but they're very clearly not going for the world title, even though that's supposedly the plan with Wardlow down the line.
But he's a mid-carder now, but they got to build him up.
So weird. I'm hoping that they'll catch fire sooner than later, but now is not the time. Dragoon.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, yeah, so I'll cut you off there. But, yeah, Dragoon said the factions looked like a big ass. Who the hell cares when they show up? I apologize. I even said it to James when I saw them. And that's honestly kind of fair. Granted, I still maintain that the reaction of the crowd at the show fell flat because 90% of us couldn't see them since they didn't have a Jumbotron in there, and they kept taking it off the actual Titantron. I know that's not legally theirs, but they took it off the Tron, and I didn't know who it was. I guess.
And the win got knocked out of everybody with how MJF lost to Joe, which is a shame.
Also,
it is a shame. But
that's a good point too. But now, I was on Twitter before, and the pod Twitter follows an account called Humble Wrestling, and I never agree with this guy, but he posted a screenshot of their entrance, and he goes, "This was the faction that debuted at World's End."
Yep. And
I was like, man, I want to like these guys, but that's a good point. They got nothing going from them right now except Wardlow beatdowns.
Yep. This isn't even a knock on the Ring of Honor tag titles, but
defend them. Maybe
do something. I know people don't want to see Ring of Honor titles defended on AEW TV. That's fine. I respect that. I'm not even saying they need to do that. Fucking wrestle on TV at least.
Yep. I haven't seen Roddy do anything in a while. I think he said end match. The Kingdom hasn't had a match since they've won those titles, as far as I know. At least not on AEW television. What are we doing with them? The best thing that they've done is had Cole on commentary tonight.
And even that was whatever. I have a lot to say about Jay White tonight, so we'll get to him, Dragoon, I promise.
And I think all of that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. There's this huge vacuum in AEW at the top right now, at least on Dynamite. Cole seemed like the guy who probably should have been filling it. Even with his injury, at minimum this group, and they have fallen so flat, it has added to the obviousness of the vacuum, even more. All right, let's move on. As we heard a second ago, the AEW Power Rankings have been released. Breaking news over here. I have them here. I apologize for not being able to pull them up maybe in a second. So obviously we have our champions on the men's side of Samoa Joe, the TNT champion Christian Cage, international champion Orange Cassidy, and the Continental Crown champion Eddie Kingston. Our contenders, number 5, Roderick Strong. Number 4, John Moxley. Number 3, Adam Copeland. Number 2, Hangman Adam Page. And number 1, Swerve Strickland.
All right. They did it. Swerve is number 1, rightfully so, probably. And Hangman number 2. Copeland being 3 is interesting. That definitely feels like it's just to get him closer to Christian in the TNT title.
Yep.
Moxley being 4 makes sense. He's always going to be a perennial top 5er. And 5 was who?
Roderick.
Again, makes sense because he's going for the international title. Now, This is something that people have brought up now. the rankings are going to be in a new, interesting state considering how many titles AEW has now.
Yeah.
Does being in the top 5 allow you a claim to any title? Does being number 1 get you closer only to the AEW world title? How does this work? So lots of questions we're going to have moving forward. A lot of faith we're going to have to see if this works. But I am more excited about this than not. I am very excited. I think it does add to that quote unquote sports feel. AEW said they wanted to have associated with their brand, but I am willing, because I like it so much and I cared about it so much the first time. I am willing to see how this goes now.
I'd almost be kind of cool if they did a top 10, because there are so many, at least for the men's singles titles, there are so many of them. I feel like a top 10 would almost afford more people title shots. And then, at least with the Continental Crown and International Championships, get a few more guys getting title shots, maybe even eliminator matches, just to get things, put more stakes into matches when they're happening seemingly on a random weekly basis.
Did they do rankings for the women's and tag divisions?
Yes, they did. And the trios. I was about to get to those next.
Oh, we've never had those.
So we will go to the women's next. Obviously, you have your champions of Timeless, Toni Storm and Julia Hart. And we go top 5. Number 5, Mariah May. A little surprising there. Number 4, Sky Blue. Number 3, Hikaru Shida. Number 2, Thunder Rosa. And number 1, Deonna Purazzo.
Yay!
I think all of that makes a lot of sense. I currently don't really know who's going after the TBS championship, but Deonna is clearly gunning for Toni Storm after her win tonight and their interactions.
Could be Thunder.
It makes a whole lot of sense, but yeah.
I want to acknowledge, I think Dragoon had a really good comment. I think he says you could split it. Entering the top 5 can get you a lower title, so basically any Ring of Honor title. Entering top 3 can get you a mid-card title. Entering number 1 gives you a world title shot, or you can pick any. I think that's good. Personally, the only flaw for me with this is the Ring of Honor aspect of it.
Yep.
AEW rankings should be separate from Ring of Honor rankings. And that's almost entirely because Ring of Honor people are booked differently on Ring of Honor than they are in AEW.
Yeah.
So I am not a fan of just somebody who's hot in AEW coming in and being able to get a shot in Ring of Honor. That's the only thing I'm not crazy about.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Ring of Honor is not only should it be separate, it is separate, and I will get there in a moment.
I'm going to question this. Ratings are lower than ever when it's involved. Ring of Honor hasn't been involved in a while, and the ratings are just low right now. So I don't know that that's entirely true.
It's just where they are in their story right now. There's just not.
Dragoon saying he was just making fun of Ring of Honor. Fuck you. He has no proof, but he's pretty sure, Eric said.
So talking out his ass. Okay, we now move on to the tag team division. Obviously, Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Yes, Sorsey made it the fuck up. Yes, we have number 5, Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta at number 5.
Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Sure. They've only wrestled one tag team match ever, but okay.
I guess with Chucky T out, they kind of just slid Orange in, even though Rocky is sitting right there.
Wow.
Number 4, the recently returned Private Party. That would be Private Party for those of you who took your headphones off.
No, I heard, but thank you.
Number 3, Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli of the Blackpool Combat Club.
Ooh, that gets me all a tizzy.
Number 2, John Silver and Alex Reynolds of the Dark Order.
Wow, good for them.
And number 1, obviously, is Sting and Darby Allin, as they are literally facing for the tag titles next week.
What is the friggin' state of the AEW tag team division that I love John Silver and Alex Reynolds, but that they're essentially the number 1 contenders, excluding Sting and Darby?
Well, they're constantly racking up wins over Colt Cabana and in pre-show matches. So their record's really, really good.
Jesus Christ.
All right, and we finally move on to the newly created Trios Champions rankings, obviously. Being the champs, number 5, House of Black. Number 4, FTR and Daniel Garcia. I think did they end up winning the feud against the House of Black?
I think so, but geez.
That would probably Number 3, Dark Order. So they're in 2 rankings. Good for them.
Yeah.
Number 2, the Hardys and Mark Briscoe. I'm sure that's going to go by the wayside very quickly. Unless they turn Mark heel, which I don't think is possible.
What?
Number 1, Bullet Club Gold.
I mean, it makes sense. Man, they're going to fucking do it, aren't they? They're going to unify those titles.
I don't think they're going to unify them, but I do think you see what we were just talking about. These titles are separate. So that's where Jay White is, Dragoon. You have both a title on him in Ring of Honor, and he's number 1 contender for the AEW Trios Championship. So I would think it'd be more likely for the Bang Bang Gang to have 2 titles than them unify it. That's just my opinion. But as you said the other day, James, if there is going to be a Ring of Honor title unified with the AEW title, it's probably going to be the 6-man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the rankings. So
no, don't be too happy for Jay White. Don't be. I was not happy with how tonight went for the Bang Bang Gang, but we'll talk about that. And sad for Malachi Black. Look, I love Malachi Black. He's probably going to go back to WWE the moment his contract is up in 70 years. But so there is a lot going on right now. House of Black, the most wasted shit in this company. Look, apparently there's like this whole thing right now that House of Black isn't wrestling as much because they don't want to do jobs for people, which is why I'm going to get into the whole thing. The cage match was initially advertised as an elimination cage match, 3v3. Then it was advertised as an escape the cage elimination match. They have said that was always the plan. It's just what was initially advertised wasn't the what they were intending, and then they fixed it. But Dave Meltzer, who you either love him or hate him, went out and said that the reason the change was made was because at least 2 of the 3 members of House of Black just don't want to do jobs. They don't want a job for people, which explains why we haven't seen Malachi Black do too much, which explains why we haven't seen Buddy doing too much. So who knows? House of Black have called out those claims and said that they're not true. He's full of shit, all that lovely stuff. But where there's smoke, there's fire. And I will say there's been smoke. There's been smoke with Malachi Black essentially since he debuted in AEW.
I think that's just part of their entrance. No, I did find that all very interesting. Obviously, I think everything that came out with the statements surrounding the House of Black, they came out with after Meltzer put out the report that they didn't want a job. Whatever the reason is, I do agree with Dragoon that they have been underutilized in AEW to an extent. Malachi has always been booked very strongly, in my opinion, but they're not the dominant faction I think we all think they should be. Even when they were champs, it didn't really feel like they were dominating people. And when they were, it was even a very small run of just absolute dominance. So I can see why fans of them would be upset. I'm even a little upset. And I know, granted, now they're just kind of stuck on not stuck on Collision, but they're on Collision, and I don't see them as much as I would like to. But they should be up there with the most dominant factions in the company, and they're clearly not. Well, whether that's, people refusing to do jobs or them just not being booked because everyone's pretty sure they're on their way out the door, whatever it is. Or, even Eric saying Toni might think they don't want to be there, so he doesn't give them priority. Maybe. Whatever it is, it just kind of sucks for the fans of the House of Black that we're in this position with them. All right, so let's get back to the show. I forgot where we were. We had the Commander match. Yes, so after the Commander Wardlow match, we had a sit-down interview as we came back from commercial with Sting and Darby Allin and Big Bill and Ricky Starks. So this started with Ricky explaining why he's so heated at Sting, saying that Sting started his AEW career by beating Ricky, and that's always kind of irked him, and it sat inside him for the last 4 years or whatever. So Ricky's still pretty pissed off at that. Darby asks how this is about respect when Ricky clearly doesn't respect Sting and only sees him as a stepping stone for his future. Ricky repeats that he's not going to let Sting even get to his retirement match, let alone retire as tag team champion, with Big Bill echoing his sentiments about their and everyone's lack of respect for them. Sting finally steps in. He says that he actually saw something in Ricky in the beginning because Ricky was the only one with the balls to step to him.
Oh!
That actually isn't that much of an insult. That's an insult to the rest of the locker room.
That's what I meant!
But respect has to be earned. It's not given, and Ricky hasn't earned his respect yet. As for Big Bill, Sting says he's faced many big men in the past, but he's unsure if Bill is the killer that they were.
Was that better?
Yeah, that was more appropriate.
Oh!
Darby finishes things off by saying Ricky will always find a way to blame someone else for all of his problems, and that leads Ricky to throw a water bottle at Darby, trying to goad him into punching him despite the agreement of no physicality. But Sting is able to hold Darby back and tells Ricky that Darby will be able to hit him in Phoenix. So this was pretty good. I think it added a lot more weight, I think, to the tag match next week, outside of the fact that it's Sting's first title match in AEW. Yep. So it'll be cool. And Big Bill did well. So he spoke well. So that's all I really care about.
Only critique, instead of Shivani, it probably should have been JR. I feel like this is where JR actually shines a little bit in AEW.
Yes.
And admittedly, I understand why it was Shivani. Shivani is the Sting guy. That makes sense to me. But if you got someone like JR, use him for stuff like this.
Shivani did do great, though, because
he did.
There were points when Darby and Ricky were both sitting right on top of him, and they were really in each other's faces. And Shivani was like huddling behind them, and he was trying to get them to separate, but he was too timid. And I think it really helped show how much heat these two had between each other. So I agree with you. JR is always great in these backstage situations. I continue to say anytime they do one of these things like this, they should use JR. But I thought Shivani played a great role here. And yes, obviously he's the Sting guy. Kind of has to do it.
Yep.
All right. After this, we had Chris Jericho versus Kyle Fletcher in a match where I was like, really, more of this shit? But it actually turned out pretty well.
I don't care, but go ahead.
I thought it was a good match. It was a lot of great back and forth. This ended up with Jericho being able to, Fletcher being able to send Jericho to the outside with a huge kick, and then Fletcher went for a tope. However, Jericho was able to recover and hit a Judas effect as Fletcher flew through midair. It just got absolutely picked off. Jericho then threw him back into the ring, climbed up to the top rope, and hit a flying, diving Judas effect off the top rope to get the pinfall victory. After the match, we had Takeshita come out onto the top of the ramp as he faces Jericho next week. But, James, there's a lot of cool shit in this match. I thought it was a little bit long. It was a lot of, I guess, rest time after big moves because they were big moves, but it was just a lot of recovery time, and I think it made the match a little too long. But a lot of great spots, a lot of good near falls. Like, you had Fletcher's brain buster off the top rope. I thought Jericho hit a really nice, oh my God, I forgot the name of his code breaker. I actually enjoyed the moves of the match. I think the pacing was just off a little bit.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I just don't care about it anymore. It's been going on for so long in some form or another, in some shape or another. I've been dealing with Don Callis, dealing with a Canadian for what feels like a year now. I'm tired. I am tired, and I'm terrified, genuinely terrified. Kenny is going to come back from the diverticulitis and go right into this.
Probs. Well, I mean, actually, God forbid he's out that, or God forbid, A, he's out that long, or B, this is still going that long. I really hope this ends next week with a Takeshita match. That's got to, right?
It won't.
Maybe?
It won't. Maybe that's when Kenny comes. I don't know. But regardless, I'm just so done. Notable, this is Jericho's first match on Dynamite since the allegations and everything that really that came out.
His first match on live TV, I think.
Yeah, on live TV, yes. No, I was gonna say the pay-per-view, but that's not live TV. Yes, it's the first time he's live in an unedited, unpre-recorded show. And the crowd reacted fine to him. There was no what's the word? There was no trolling.
No, not a lot of booze, no NDA chants.
Yeah.
Idiots in the chat. You know who you are.
Idiots in the pod. I'm not that I care one way or the other. I don't want to say that I'm happy, but it seems we're moving past this. So I think they played it out as well as they could have.
It's nice to not have the cloud looming over the
Yes.
crowd, or the cloud or the crowd looming over the match in a negative way. Obviously, you kind of have to acknowledge it at this point, at least for the next little while, anytime Jericho wrestles, and perhaps ever anytime Jericho gets brought up. But at the moment, it seems like the crowds have kind of let it go. I think part of just because of the way everything came out with the so-called reporter, I forget what his name was. So perhaps that's gone away. As for the feud, yes, it needs to fucking end. I already thought it was over, and then I saw this match on the card. I went, wait, we're still fucking going here? Yep. So,
and I feel bad because so much of the talent are people that I actually care about, and I'm invested in the future for AEW. I want to see Powerhouse Hobbs as just this dominating force in AEW. I think Kyle Fletcher is the dark horse for one of the best signings Toni is going to have for years to come.
Yeah,
I think he's going to wow us for a long, long time. So I'm into that. Takeshita, incredible talent, an incredible talent that we have been literally begging to see him get let loose and just go wild on the talent of AEW. That is a man who should be going for titles at this point.
I still say he should be the international champ and take it off of Orange, but fucking Roderick Strong's in the way.
I think he's going to get past Roderick, but beyond all that,
maybe he beats Takeshita. Maybe he beats Eddie.
Yeah. So maybe, very true. I need them to do something else. I need this group to have a different focus. Don Callis was at one time one of my favorite heel managers, and now he has go away heat with me. I don't want to see him.
I don't want to see him with Jericho. If he comes out and starts doing something else, I would probably love him again. I just need him talking shit about someone else, because this is one of those, way too long Jericho feuds, and it feels like it's been the longest one.
Yeah. Because
it's been very stop and go.
And it's been so unimportant. That's the big thing. There's no stakes here. This is just a grudge that, quite frankly, Jericho and Kenny have lost time and time again. There is no reason for the Don Callis family to continue to be targeting Jericho and Kenny. You won. Take your guys to bigger and better.
Yeah, I thought this was over at All In. What the hell? Why is this? It's fucking January.
And all out.
Yeah. Actually, in 35 minutes, it's going to be February. Why is this still going? Wow. Let it stop. I do agree with you on Fletcher, though. I think he is the reason why this match was so fucking good tonight.
Yeah.
Or as good as it was. I don't want to say it was fucking good.
And fun fact for you. It was really cool that they put Fletcher over, that it took like 2 Judas effects, and one of them was a high-flying Judas effect for that win. Jericho used to hit that move early on in WWE. It was one of his mid-card moves where he would hit a top rope back elbow. So very interested that he brought it back all of a sudden. Granted, it now is a super finisher, but something I'm familiar with Jericho.
I guess he probably put 2 and 2 together and was like, oh, it's the same move.
Nope.
I guess I'm bringing it back. Yeah, I like how they protected Fletcher, though. He is Ring of Honor World Television Champion. So good stuff out of him.
Yeah.
After that, we had a quick Deonna Purazzo promo package. She just went into further detail about her history with Toni Storm and the story behind their matching tattoos. And then we came to the Bang Bang Scissor Gang promo. James, I already know, is going to go off on this. It was fun. It was short. It almost feels like maybe the Jericho Fletcher match went long and they didn't have as much time as they wanted. Maybe I'm just recklessly speculating there. Bowens went out and got Card Blade, but apparently he had been fired, so he got thrown out of the ring.
Weeks ago.
So he was replaced by Juice Board. So now we have a new cardboard cut out. We also had Austin Gunn try to do the suck it, and then Billy was like,
"It's hardboard."
Is it hardboard? Oh, that makes a lot more sense. I can never get these names right.
I don't know if it was you though. I think it was how they said it today, but it's been hardboard.
Okay. Also, it took me until now to remember it was Card Blade, and he's fired. So, as I was saying, Austin Gunn tried to do the suck it thing, and Billy was like, "I'm right here, dude." So he took over, he did it, and then he was like, "Guns up" at the end, and then we had a whole, bang bang scissor gang in the middle of the ring. So it was funny. It was also like 2.5 minutes. So I don't know what happened here, James. I enjoyed it, but feel like this wasn't the plan.
What did we accomplish with this?
They're friends. Yeah.
This could have been a backstage segment if it was going to be this short. And granted, maybe it wasn't supposed to be this short. Like you said, maybe something else went over, whether it was Jericho Fletcher or literally any other match. Who knows? I don't need this. I am a huge Jay White fan, and I know a lot of our commenters are. I know a lot of viewers are big Jay White fans. This isn't what I want to see from Jay White. Like, we were just celebrating a second ago that he and the Bang Bang Gang are number one contenders for the trios titles. They don't feel like number one contenders of anything. They feel like they're just mid-card jabronis right now. And I that's not because of the trios titles, but just because of the antics. And I like comedy. I like when bad guys can be funny. That's not my issue here. This just felt like a waste of time. And my God, how are the Acclaimed still attached to Austin and Colton Gunn at this point? That feels like the true feud of AEW. That will never go away. But, it is what it is. I don't know. This was the first time, like, I'm happy they won the trios title, the 6-man titles of Ring of Honor. I'm happy the Acclaimed are the trios titles, trios champion. And I really do feel it in my bones. They're going to be going to unify this. So that means probably Bullet Club Gold is going to win the trios titles. So that's great. But this is the first time I feel like Jay White is doing stuff that is genuinely beneath him.
Yeah, I think we kind of discussed this last week. At least he has a title. At least he's doing something. He's involved with a big act. But you're right. It does feel a little bit beneath him. He is a guy who should be in the main event title picture or at least close to it in a high-profile feud. I don't know what was up with this tonight, but hopefully it's going to lead to them turning on the Acclaimed, especially now as we saw, they are the number one contenders to the trios titles. And hopefully we get something good out of that. I hope they don't, the titles, unify them, and they just run it around with 6 belts. I think that would look awesome. But in the meantime, we got this funny segment, and we're scissor banging each other. So, all right.
And just to go off of Producer Boy's tweet that he pulled up.
Hi, Producer Boy.
The betrayal is coming, and when it does, it's going to suck. But I think another thing that I think is just disappointing me about this, it feels like the Acclaimed Trios reign was just such a waste of time. They got rolled into the MJF storyline, which I was cool with, but then they became afterthoughts that went away for a while, and now they're very clearly playing second fiddle to the Bullet Club Gold. So, disappointed. Tweet saying Jay White should have held out till the hiring freeze was over. He could have main evented Mania with Seth now that Punk's out, now that they got him with the Ass Man Merchant. That would have been a lot of time to be off without a contract.
Yeah.
That'd have been like half a year of just not really working. And I'm not even someone who thinks that he necessarily needed to go to AEW. I think a WWE run would have been interesting for him. But I'm not going to tell a guy to hold out for like nearly 6 months, if not longer, to not take a contract.
I agree.
Jay White saying he's a big fan of scissoring. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, we're not doing that, Gif. After this, we came back from commercial. to Deonna Purazzo versus Taya Valkyrie, which is probably the only thing James truly liked on the show. We also had Timeless Toni Storm on commentary. Obviously, she was amazing. She corrected Taz on how to say suplex. I think she said it was supla. I think I lost James here. Oh, suplex. Thank you. All right. You still have audio, James? You still have your hands up in the air like this. Toni did a bunch, but she was also going on about Shivani again and was like, where's the good-looking one? And they were like, Riccaboni's not here this week. And she then asked Shivani where he got his hair colored, as yet we have unfortunately lost James. See, it's not just me with the quote-unquote bad Wi-Fi. I'm going to blame his cat. That's probably what actually happened. So I will get to the end of this match really quick, where after Taya was sent out of the ring with a thrust kick by Deonna, Deonna followed her out of the ring and then stared down Toni at the commentary table. And this was actually pretty cool because there was the one camera doing both the black and white and the color sequencing. So anytime they panned the camera back and forth from Toni, they had to switch back and forth. And they did a good job on it. They're really getting that filtered down pat. As Deonna stared down Toni, Toni actually put up her hands, put her dukes up like the Notre Dame Fighting Irish logo. So that was pretty funny. Just daring Deonna to step at her. Taya attempted to take advantage of this distraction. However, Deonna was able to sidestep her and throw her right into Toni, which caused Toni to exclaim that somebody peed on her seat. And she thought it was very unprofessional of whoever did that. Meanwhile, back in the ring, Deonna tossed Taya back in there. She might have hit another thrust kick. I'm not entirely sure. But she was able to lock in a seated Venus de Milo, and that forced Taya to tap out and actually left Toni Storm speechless for the first time in a minute. Now, of course, the one motherfucking time, someone else pissed my seat. Great line. But for one fucking time, James has a women's match that is full of former TNA women. He disappears. So I will do my best to carry this segment. But this was a really good match. It wasn't the time slot of death for the women, thanks God. James hates women because he left. I think it came on around 9:30, which was great. The crowd was really into it. And these two women, I'm pretty sure they've had quite a few matches together over in TNA and perhaps other places as well. So they do have a lot of good chemistry. I think they were able to do a lot of cool stuff. I thought Taya looked like $1 million, and I think Johnny TV being with her even makes her look more important. There were certain instances where Deonna was trying to chase Taya up the ramp, and Johnny TV got between them. There was a point, I think, right before commercial, Taya was able to throw Deonna into the barricade, and then she just left her there and started making out with Johnny. So they got a really good power couple dynamic on TV, and I think that helps both of their characters. Johnny was a little stuck, I think, both in QTV when it was on, and then after he left and was doing whatever he was doing. There's Toni throwing up the Dukes. And he hadn't really been doing much, Johnny. So I think putting him with Taya gives him an interesting new character direction. I think it gives her a new character direction. And it just gives them a lot of – they look cool on TV, honestly. As for Deonna, obviously we saw before, she is the new number one contender for the AEW Women's Championship. I think they're doing a great job of building her. She's getting good, credible wins. She's looking phenomenal in the ring. She has been able to hold her own on the mic with Toni, which is very difficult at the moment because not only is Toni so deep into this character that she's fantastic at it, it's kind of hard to respond to half the shit that she says because it doesn't make any fucking sense. So I think Deonna's doing a great job there. And I do think there's a good chance she loses at Revolution. It is making me a little nervous. We kind of discussed it last week, where we've had women come in, lose a title match to the current champion, and then kind of fall off into nowhere and just end up in the doldrums. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen to Deonna. She's too good of a talent. James will attest to that when he hopefully eventually comes back. And they should always keep her near the title picture, keep her high profile. And so if she doesn't win the title, I hope they are able to keep her near the top of the card. But I do think there's a good chance she ends up losing just because Toni is too hot right now. And hopefully James is back any second now because I'm running out of steam. And I don't want to move on without him being able to get a word in on this. And I think he might still be frozen. So we might have to come back to it. That is unfortunate. All right. Well, I'm going to move on. And if James wants to discuss this more, we can. So we then headed backstage to an interview with Darby Allin. And Renee goes into quickly saying, you've had a rough night, everything with Ricky that got really heated. But I wanted to ask you about your admiration for the Young Bucks. Darby is very confused by this, but the Jacksons end up coming over and say that Renee asked him a great question. They then turn their attention to Darby with Matthew asking Darby why he is blowing off their text, saying they really like him. And they also ask why he's hanging out with that old bloodsucker Sting. Matthew says that things are going to change a lot once Sting ends up leaving, which is going to be real soon. And since they like Darby so much and they're, all AEW originals, they should team up and be a nice little trios team. Darby says his only focus right now is on the AEW Tag Team Championships and walks away, which prompts Matt to say that they're going to have to get his attention in another way. You with us, James?
I hope so. I love women. My internet might not, but I love women.
Speaking of, I'm sure you wanted to comment on the Deonna Purazzo versus Taya Valkyrie match. I think I covered what you might say, trying to do my best James impression.
No, I heard a little bit of it as I was fussing with my internet. I adored this match. I think this was probably my highlight of the night, even though I did enjoy other parts of the show. This was the first time that a Deonna match didn't feel completely overshadowed by Toni and her commentary. Yeah. I think Toni was killing it on commentary. She had some great stuff about who pissed on my chair. I thought that was hilarious. I loved her disregarding the duck tattoo thing. There was so much that she did well. Getting confused why Shivani was Shivani again and not Ian Riccaboni. I thought that was great. She killed it. But I think it speaks to how good the match was between Deonna and Taya. I think those two women put on a banger. I loved their stuff outside the ring. I loved the finish with the double armbar. That wasn't the Venus de Milo. That was just...
It was like a seated version of it. So I'm curious to see if perhaps she has different variations where she can get it from different angles. Because it looked even more vicious than the normal one.
It absolutely did. So that was, I thoroughly enjoyed the match. I enjoyed what they're doing still with all of these people. I loved going back and forth between the black and white and the color. Like there was that one transition where they went from the ring to Toni, and it just flawlessly transitioned.
Or even when Taya got thrown into Toni as well, they were doing it.
Yes. So well done on all fronts again. I personally think this is my favorite thing going on in AEW right now. Between Toni, between Deonna, the story they're telling, the way they're having fun with the camera, the way they're having fun with these characters, I'm all for it. So more of this. I am allowing myself to believe she could actually win it.
Do you think she's going to win it? Because I was just saying that I don't think she is, but
I don't think so either. But I'm allowed. They're doing such a good job with this story that I want to believe.
Yeah, but I think we kind of discussed this last week. The danger is we've had women come in, lose their title shot on the first go, and then kind of fall back into the doldrums and not really do anything. So hopefully that doesn't happen to Deonna, because as I was saying when you were out, she's too good for that to happen to. They need to do something with her. They need to keep her at the top of the card.
I completely agree. I know I've been a big advocate for it for a long time, and I begrudgingly agreed with some of what Danny would say and some of the others would say. I think we are finally getting to a point where a tag team title for the women feels more plausible. I would love to see Deonna and her good friend Britt Baker going for the tag titles. And I think Deonna is a great babyface. She's a very charming woman, but I think she's an incredible heel, and her and a heel Britt Baker would be awesome.
Yeah, I think most of the work I know of Deonna is heel, and it's always been very good. I think you're right. They definitely have the roster depth in the women's division now, where tag titles would take hold. They seemingly have enough TV time every week. It's 7 hours of television. Right. So 7 hours of commercial-free wrestling starts now. But Tony Khan just doesn't give them the time. It barely gives them the time to have any other feuds outside of the two titles as it is.
And admittedly, that's kind of why, and I've said it before, that's why I'm a big proponent of them adding a tag team title.
Because then he has to put it on TV.
Exactly. It's and instead of being happy that we get 2 extra women on TV, we're getting 4.
Yeah.
So
at least you have a manager or a trios team that was in Freebird.
I can dream.
It's one of those things. You have 2 2-hour shows and a 1-hour show, and you can't tell me you can't get 5 women's segments a week. Like, it's not that fucking. They don't even have to be that long. At least just get them on TV. Tonight we had, I guess, technically 2 because Deonna had that quick promo package, but it was just the one feud. And I understand also too the TBS title is pretty much beholden to Collision at this point. But the fact that you're doing 1 on Dynamite, maybe 1.5, maybe 1 on Rampage, maybe, and then 1 on Collision. Give me a fucking break. You can do better than that. Shouldn't be 1 a show. Maybe.
TNA.
It honestly is one of the best things they do is their women's division. I don't know it's the Knockouts division. Did you have any comment on the Jacksons' interaction with Darby Allin before we hit our main event? I'm sorry to catch you while you're eating.
It's okay.
James's internet didn't actually go down. He was just hungry.
It was all a ruse, people.
Elaborate ruse.
I got kind of terrified for a second that the Bucks might actually cost Darby and Sting the tag titles next week. Again, the only reason I don't necessarily think that's going to happen is because I don't see Sting losing twice. Yeah. Even if Darby's the one who takes the pin next week, I don't think it matters. I don't think they want to have that team lose before the end. But I don't know. I got scared.
You could do it, I guess, in one of 2 ways. One would be, and this is my first idea, but now I think about it, it's probably detrimental to Ricky and Big Bill, where you have the Bucks take Darby out and Sting wins the titles anyway, but that kind of hurts Ricky and Bill at least a little. I know it's Sting, but I feel it kind of hurts them. Or, the Bucks just jump them after the match.
Yeah, and that's possible too. But watching that and seeing their interactions, I did get really scared. Oh my God, are they actually not going to get it next week? And maybe that's what this was about. Maybe that was to instill the fear in us. Are the Bucks going to do something underhanded? Maybe they don't. Maybe they do it after the match, like you said. But it's there now. And something that I thought was 100% certainty next week is now something that that I'm questioning a little bit. I got really nervous for a second, actually. I didn't see who tweeted this. Producer boy really got me here. That was good.
So Brandon Cutler on Twitter. Sources are saying that Darby Allin has heat within the AEW office due to a lack of professionalism and communication problems. One reliable source noted that he is late to respond to group text messages and Zoom calls, and he also isn't taking potential competition seriously. Cutler has been great with these tweets.
He really has. It was so well done that I got nervous because I didn't immediately look at the name. That was great.
I know they're all big basketball fans, the Bucks are, and I think they're kind of football fans to an extent. That is a perfect ESPN Woj or Schefter tweet. That's probably why I got you. He's perfectly wording this to sound like it's an ESPN tweet. So well done by Cutler. Let's move on to the main event, which was our other dealer's choice match. Obviously, Hangman getting to choose Swerve Strickland's opponent, and it was none other than RVD Rob Van Dam. Hangman had been teasing this. I think he teased it on Collision, and they showed the pay-per-view, the promo from Collision earlier in the show, and he teased it was the whole effing show. So we got RVD, and everyone kind of saw that coming. But before the match started, Hangman pulled the old switcheroo as he appeared on the Jumbotron and told Swerve that he actually had made a very good choice of Liona, since Toa almost got the job done. But Swerve must not be able to read, because dealer's choice not only means you get to pick the opponent, you also get to pick the match. So Hangman declares this a hardcore match, and before you know it, there's a chair in Swerve's head, and he's knocked out of the ring, and we're off to the races.
Rob did not hesitate to wail on him with that chair.
Bell hadn't even rung. I don't even think the cameras had turned around off the Tron yet, and all you just heard was the clang of Swerve getting whacked upside the head with the chair, and then the bell rang. So, as we got towards the end of this match, RVD had Swerve up on the top rope, hung over, in the yam bag area, and as he's heading to the top, Brian Cage came running down from the back and shoved RVD off the top rope, saving Swerve. Cage then went down and he started going after Van Dam, trying to protect Swerve and give him time to recover. But as he was doing this, Hook came from the back with the chair and swung for the fences on Cage's back, driving him off of Van Dam, and then the two of them fought to the backstage area up the ramp. However, with all the distraction, Swerve was able to recover, and he was able to get the upper hand for a second as he hit a huge flatliner, brought RVD to the outside, and then hit a Swerve stomp into a chair, which was awesome. I honestly thought Rob hit his head on the back of the steps. It was that close to the steps. However, Swerve then brought him back inside, set up for a Swerve stomp in the ring, but Van Dam was able to recover, wings another chair at Swerve's head, and this knocks Swerve off of the top rope through a table on the outside that he had previously set up. So RVD then went sandwiched Swerve between two chairs, went up top for the 5-star frog splash, but once again, it was able to be dodged, this time by Swerve, and RVD went right into the chair on the splash. Swerve then hit a chair-assisted last call, which was awesome, that Van Dam kicked out of, and then Strickland went back up top and taunted RVD with his move before hitting a Swerve stomp as Rob was flipping him off, and he was able to get the win. After the match, Hangman comes down to the ring, and he congratulated, and I quote, the evil bastard for winning, saying he's likely to be at they're both likely to be at the top of the rankings since they're both undefeated. And even though Swerve wants the AEW championship, Hangman will never let that happen. Swerve doesn't think that Hangman understands what's going on here. Hangman can't beat him, so he's irrelevant, and he will be getting the AEW World Championship. Hangman retorts that Swerve has needed the entire Mogul Embassy to defeat him, so he's never really actually beat him. And when it really comes down to it, Swerve can't even lace his boots. This goads Swerve into basically going face-to-face with Hangman, asking him if he really wants another match, and then granting him one last match, saying after he wins, he will move on to what he's already looking at, the AEW World Championship, as he looks past Hangman and at Samoa Joe, who was on commentary for the entire match. And as Swerve walks out, Tony Khan then makes it official. Hangman versus Swerve next week, and the winner faces off against Samoa Joe at Revolution, as it's basically a 1-2 matchup. So, James, much like SRS, as Producer Boy was showing, I thought this match was great. Rob Van Dam still got it. I don't know how. The man's like 55.
I read something either on Twitter or on Reddit. RVD is the same age Ric Flair was when Flair came back to WWE as like the co-owner of WWE and started what was like his last long run in WWE. So, damn, time is a crazy place.
Well, it's imagine what you look like when you really just smoke and don't drink, and then you also do a lot of yoga. So
yoga,
yeah, tantric yoga.
doesn't smoke, you say?
I said smoke and don't drink.
Oh, that you do smoke and don't drink. I was gonna be like,
And he does a lot of yoga, I assume. I know he does tantric yoga.
His power lift record finally got broken.
Oh, really?
The Van Dam lift, somebody finally broke his record.
Wow.
Another world champion defeated. Swerve Strickland tweeted, he is amassing quite the resume.
He really is. That's why he's the number one contender right now.
I adored this matchup. When RVD first came out, I was like, oh, that's fun. It'll be another like win for Swerve that'll make him look good. But when they made it a hardcore match, which, by the way, is this the first time they referred to a match as a hardcore match in AEW?
Perhaps explicitly.
Yeah. Like, I know we've had no DQ matches. I know we've had other extreme type of matches. But this is, I think, the first time they've used the words hardcore match. And I'm interested to see if they're trying to go for a trademark here, to see if WWE is going to push back on them. But regardless of that, fun matchup. RVD looked great, even in loss. He's doing exactly what someone in his position should be doing. Yeah. Having a good matchup that gets the crowd going, but still putting the talent over. He did a great job of making Swerve feel like a real threat. He didn't go down to the first thing or even the second thing. It took the Swerve stomp at the very end after everything else to keep him down.
Even after that, too.
Yeah, the Van Swerveinator. I thought that was really cool.
Which he kicked out of.
Yeah, exactly. So RVD looked like an actual threat to Swerve, but Swerve was still able to overcome. And he's looking like a superstar. And I'm going to say something that might be unpopular. I'm glad Nana wasn't there.
I thought it made the match better. Yes. I know even with the interference, it was brief, and it maybe didn't have a total effect on the end of the match, even though I think it had a slight effect in the story. Yeah. But, yeah, I feel like he almost just would have kind of gotten in the way.
It's not even just the match itself. I love the Swerve dance. It got over big. It's a fun viral meme. I good for them for capitalizing on it as much as they can. But he feels like a terrifying threat on his own. When you have Nana dancing around him, I thought about it for the first time last week, and I'm sad Danny's not in the comments for this right now. It reminds me of Giovanni with like Team Rocket around him.
Oh, Jesse and James.
Yeah. Like you have this, oh my God, final boss threat. But then you have the underlings looking like clowns underneath him, and you start sort of questioning his ability because of it. So, not that I want Nana to go away, but there are instances that I kind of want Swerve to be on his own.
And I think we've kind of been seeing that a little bit more because of the nobody at ringside rule with the Continental Classic. And now Nana is kayfabe injured after he went through a table last week. Swerve is having to do it on his own without Nana of late. And despite the fact from Brian Cage interfered tonight, he pretty much has been. Yep. So, he's Nana's the court jester, So, and he's funny, although when he has to be serious, he can be serious. He's actually, this is probably a bit of a bit. No, I'm not going to go there.
No, go for it. I was
going to say it's a bit of a bad example, but in terms of it's Nana putting on a facade looking like an idiot, but actually knows what the fuck he's doing in the back. It's kind of like Samuel L. Jackson's character in Django. Yeah. And I know that is really bad because of the character he was portraying or even is. But just the fact that he's able to put up that goofy facade in front of everybody, and then in the back, he's really in Swerve's ear giving him good advice. That's what I was really going. It's a bad example, and I'm sorry I actually put that on film. So, but I do like Nana, but I think him out there tonight would have been kind of goofy, and I don't want to say detracted for the match, but I think it would have made it a different match, and I very much like the match we got.
I do agree.
The other match we ended up getting is, as Sydney Sweeney is so happy about, Swerve vs. Hangman 3 next week. Now, we've been very vocal in this pod in not wanting this match. So we're getting it despite the fact we don't really want it. What do you think is going to end up happening with this, James?
So I really spent a lot of time thinking about this. It's the thing that I came into the pod tonight really not knowing how to talk about it, but something 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 did make me think about this a little differently. A lot of people have been comparing Swerve and Hangman to the Rock Austin feud, and I understand why. It has the same level of heat. It has the same level of, I think these guys are going to be stars for AEW. I get why that comparison keeps getting drawn. But the way it's being booked now, it doesn't feel like Rock Austin. It feels like Kenny Okada. I think we're going to get an incredibly well-wrestled, incredibly passionate feud, but instead of it being the type of thing that spans years, it's going to be the thing that burns brightly for maybe a year, year and a half, like Kenny and Okada did. Okada had their 4 matches in essentially a 2-year period.
Right.
So, and that's quite possibly my favorite series of matches in all of professional wrestling. So, I think there's a chance, as Eric put, maybe in the comments he put, maybe a time limit draw, or maybe regarding some of the tweets he showed on screen, some level of screwy finish. Maybe that's the case. And going back to Kenny Okada, one of their, oh God.
Right in the middle of your perfectly good point there.
Could have been a great clip, but it's ruined. Similar to Kenny and Okada, they also had a time limit draw. So maybe that's where they go with this. Maybe they have that 4th match this year, and this 3rd match is just a time limit draw to get us there, to get us to the triple threat. And then the 4th match will be eventually where Hangman does get the win down the road. Yeah, maybe all in, maybe whenever, but sometime this year.
Yeah, because I feel like if you are going to do something that big, it should be all in.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of the time limit draw. They haven't used one in a while.
Yeah.
So I feel like this would be a good time to spring it back on us. It does set up the triple threat, which I think we want more, even though I think we could have set that up without this match. But I think limit draw in the back pocket. So it's something I don't particularly hate when used properly.
Yeah. And we also have to acknowledge something. They are struggling to sell tickets right now, and they are struggling. What?
Reportedly.
No, it's true. It's
true. Being reported.
They are struggling to sell tickets right now, and the ratings have been okay. They're not at DEF CON levels of bad like they were for a week or two there, but they're not jumping either. A big match like Swerve and Hangman next week could be a great way of righting a lot of the wrongs. I'm sure. Oh God. For
the audio audience, producer boy found a picture on Twitter of somebody recreating Hangman drinking Swerve's blood, but in Lego form, because that's what we need is bloody Legos.
I don't know why that was worse than when it happened in real life.
I will say, to get things back on track here, I'm coming around more to the time limit draw because I think it gives Hangman more credibility to be in the triple threat match.
Yes.
Because if he got in and he didn't have anything over Swerve, then it would look kind of weird. It hurts his credibility. Swerve's like, why are you here? I have 2 wins over you.
And he's got a good point.
Yeah. Even if you want to say they were both dirty, the first one, Nana got involved. The second one, I think the rest of the Mogul Embassy was involved in the death match. And even though Hangman was able to overcome them, he did lose, quote unquote, cleanly. I mean, he got hanged. But my point being, he needs something. And if he can get through this match, even with a time limit draw, and have that, and as long as it's like, even if it's 100% clean, there's no Mogul Embassy, there's no Nana, and it's just them one-on-one, and it goes to the draw, Hangman can be like, look, you can't actually beat me in a straight up one-on-one match. You can't beat me by yourself. So I do deserve to be here. And that lends more credibility. And then, as you said, down the road, you can get Hangman his win back, hopefully at All In, and, heat that back up again in, I guess, was that August? So yes. I am talking myself around to the time limit draw. Hopefully they do use it, because I feel like your only other option almost well, I guess there's the two other options. Swerve wins, which then this kills the Hangman because he just completely loses that feud and loses a lot of credibility, in my opinion. Or Hangman gets his win back, which good for him, but that very much slows Swerve's momentum. And then you do Hangman versus Joe, and if you want to give Joe that win, cool. But I feel like the triple threat is the play here,
and I think we are getting there.
And the time limit draw is the safest play. And then you can do whatever you want from there. If you do have the triple threat, you can have Joe win. I can make an argument for all three guys to win, and a good way for all three guys to end up doing it. So we shall see next week. I'm actually very excited for next week. It looks like they've put together a pretty good card, whether it's just timing or, as you said, it doesn't look – they're not really on the highest of high right now over at AEW. So it is what it is. I don't know where the show is. I don't think – oh, no, I think it is where the Suns play. So that's a whole basketball arena they got to fill. So, yeah, I'm not surprised they're trying to put a big show together. As opposed to tonight, I think it was around maybe it was somewhere around 2,000, maybe a little more seats. And I don't think they sold it out according to all the reports tonight. But, I mean, that's for another show. But lower the fucking prices, Tony. Jeez.
Seriously. Tony, buddy, you created AEW, and when you said it, when that announcement came out, this was going to be a family-friendly product that the whole family can go enjoy the show. Man.
At least with the prices, family-friendly. It was going to be affordable. And everybody on that Reddit thread today, and I'm sure, it was a lot of people who hate AEW on that Reddit thread because that's how those Reddit threads go. It's a lot of tribalism. But a lot of people were saying Dynamite's been more expensive than Raw. Raw was apparently just in New Orleans, and this Dynamite was more expensive. Yep. What are you doing, Tony? What are you doing?
Crazy stuff.
All right, that was Dynamite. And I think we kind of said, James, this was a lower show, even though all these shows have been fairly consistent in terms of quality. There hasn't been too much there to truly draw us in outside of 2 weeks ago. It's just been kind of – it almost is, it's been a little flat. We went up, and then we came back down. We're flat again. Hopefully next week we go back up. But as for this episode, consistent, but nothing that jumps out at me too much.
Consistent, but slightly lacking. The things that they're doing well, they're doing very well. The women are killing it. Deonna, Toni, Taya, highlight of the night. Hangman and Swerve, great stuff. Joe is the instigator in the background. Great stuff.
He was really good on commentary. I want to get that in there. I love Joe on commentary.
He's incredible, and he always is.
He put over RVD so much in this match.
Yep.
And then when RVD started losing, Joe started getting concerned, and because he doesn't want to face Swerve. He was like, I don't want these pretenders out here. But realistically, he doesn't want to face Swerve, trying to get RVD medical attention and stuff. He was so good. But I'm sorry.
No. Great. Thank you for pointing it out. It's true. Joe is one of the best wrestlers that gets behind the table. So I love it, and keep it up, Joe.
I like how both of the AEW main champions are great at the desk right now.
Thank God. Thank God.
It's adding a lot because it lets them get out there without necessarily having to cut a promo and eat up more time.
Exactly. The audiences there might not be getting the best of it, but we at home certainly are.
Yeah.
Everything else though just doesn't feel important. If you're not going for the women's title, if you're not going for the world title, everything else feels just kind of there. Maybe to an extent, the Sting and Darby stuff, sure. But again, that was mostly backstage stuff tonight.
Yeah.
So we didn't even really get to properly enjoy that, even though the story did develop tonight thanks to the Young Bucks interacting with Darby. But things need to feel like they matter again. And I think the rankings are going to have a big part in that, because that first match between Moxley and Jeff Hardy, Moxley's now in the top 5. I think we're going to see the rankings have a big part in making things feel vital again. And that's something that I think AEW has been sorely lacking. Man, that moonsault looked rough onto the floor. Holy crap.
Oh, he missed? Yeah, that was. I couldn't believe he did. I know it was just off the apron, but the guy basically belly flopped onto the floor.
Yeah. So, fine AEW Dynamite tonight. Too good AEW Dynamite tonight. But I'm really hoping next week is the kick into high gear that we all need.
Yeah, I have to agree. There's a lot of the stuff tonight didn't feel important, even if it was good. Mox versus Jeff Hardy, good match. And yeah, we're getting Jeff's heel turn. Didn't really feel too important outside of that because Mox isn't really doing anything. I guess they set up that CMLL stuff, wherever that leads. But he's not doing anything at the moment outside of just being Mox. And while Jeff is turning, it's still too early. That's, it's still simmering in the back. The Wardlow Commander stuff, just because the entire Undisputed Kingdom stuff at the moment is just kind of blah. Yep. It didn't really feel too important. Yeah, Roddy is working his way towards the International Championship. But that's not for another month plus. So that doesn't feel too important. And the lack of importance in the majority of tonight, maybe it will change with the return of the rankings. I'm hoping it does because it adds more stakes to more matches. But it goes back to what we said earlier. There is a void, a vacuum at the top of this show right now, and it needs to be filled by somebody, and it needs to be filled by somebody fast. Otherwise, I think you're going to end up with a lot more episodes like this.
I think even if Joe just stepped up and did a little bit more, and that's not to say he's failing in any way. I don't think Joe is the problem. But I think if the world champion was doing more important stuff and not just on commentary, I think that would go a long way. Because, again, we're talking about there being a vacuum at the top of the card, which I agree with you. But at the same time, you have two of the most over acts in the company right now vying for the title in Swerve and Hangman. They're actively involved in trying to get to that title.
And Joe's got his feet up.
Yeah. So I think there needs... I don't know. I think all the pieces are there. I do.
I think Joe needs more defenses, honestly.
Yes,
I think that's agree. Part of it.
Especially if he's going to lose at Revolution.
Yeah, and it's funny because I like his gimmick of you got to show me a resume to come at me. There got to be somebody else on this card with a resume to go at him while we're waiting for the Swerve Hangman stuff.
Yep.
They had Hook. That one made sense. The kid had one loss in his entire AEW career. I understand you don't want to put a guy like Moxley or Bryan against him right now.
Yeah.
But
put Claudio in. In.
Does Claudio not have the resume to face him?
Exactly. The former Ring of Honor world champion getting a shot at the AEW world champion. Not a big, not something that offends me in any way.
Let him get hot. Let him go on like a 4 or 5 win streak quickly. And then be like, hey, Joe, I'm on like a 5 win streak. I'm a former champ. I'm a former this champ. Let's go.
Yep.
No, that'd be fine. And Claudio versus Joe would slap. We all know it would. Or it probably did. I feel like it probably ended up happening.
Very different versions of both of those guys at this point.
That's very, very true. But I'm sure they'll be able to figure it out if they work together. So maybe Samoa Joe stepping up a little bit more in the ring would help with that. But they got to figure out something because I'm enjoying everything, but the lack of stakes is kind of killing the show a little. Yeah. Let's bring the vibe down at least.
Yeah.
So, on that note, it's killing the show. Let's kill our show. Thank everybody so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. We would appreciate it very much if you would like and subscribe. We are back here every week after AEW Dynamite, so you could come catch us review every Dynamite episode, even if it's not that good. We've also had, we're stepping up on a lot of different shows, so be sure to subscribe. You can catch us throughout the week. James will be back for TNA Gym Pact tomorrow night. I hope you all enjoyed the Royal Rumble review. I was on vacation.
Happy birthday, Rev! Yeah!
Thank you. The Monday before my birthday, I literally threw my back out.
Oh my god!
I didn't throw it out. I pulled something back there. It was bad.
Gotta love our 30s.
Thank God it healed up in a day or two. But so I think we've also been trying to get a little more done with SmackDown, maybe a little more Collision in the near future. Hopefully we get Raw back on track as well. Let's see if Danny or Dragoon step up for that. But we've been bringing in new people, trying to get some more stuff done. So be sure to subscribe as we continue to expand and get you more content and have more fun. If you would like some fun on days we're not doing episodes, be sure to check out all of our social media stuff. For those of you on YouTube, it is in the description below. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. The Instagram always has some good memes, and we are always glad to chop it up with you guys on Facebook if you want to get in some debates with us. We'll have some back and forth. Just, be civil and don't be an idiot. Also, check us out on our audio platforms, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you want to take us on a road trip and don't want to use YouTube, you can download the shows there and listen to us on audio mediums. James, if you have anything else?
No, I happy to have you back, buddy. Missed you this last weekend.
How'd the giveaway go?
The giveaway went well. We gained a lot of followers. Lot of followers, and we, very happy winner. I was speaking to him yesterday or the day before, and very grateful. So keep your eye out. We will have some more giveaways in the future, and some fun stuff. Guys. And also just want to say, where is he now? He's probably with his kid. So I also want to say we gained a follower during the stream. So thank you for following us. We do appreciate it. And keep us going, guys. We love talking with you. So talk with us. Be here with us. And the more of you guys there are, the more we can do what we're doing.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So for James Ashanti and Producer Boy in the background, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Mark It Down Podcast. Have a good night, everyone.